Hello. All right, sound check. Sound check. We got a sound check going here. All right, everybody, here we are. It's another Thirsty Thursday with a tasting in place. So we're ready to roll again because we're almost out of this SIP here in Mendocino County, so that's good to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight and tonight only from the stage at Brutocao Cellars, it's Syrah. Yes, it's Syrah night. Thank you very much. So here we go. Let's have a little road trip through Mendocino County. As always with me, the maestro behind the scenes, the director, executive producer, master of the videos, Karen Brutocao. Say hi, Karen. Threw a loop there. And her beautiful husband, who is the man behind the scenes. Say hi, Kevin.
Hello.
All right, and as always with us, the master of making sure that we sound good, don't do anything stupid, David Brutocao.
Hello.
And we're good to go. We sent Steve packing back to Arizona. Thank God. Now we can relax. Okay. No. It's always great when he's out here. So, hey, tonight's about Syrah. Tonight's about having a little bit more fun with Brutocao wines. A couple things we want to talk about really quick before we get going too deep into this. Next week is Candelabra, our reserve Pinot Noir program that we were doing, 2014. That will be the last of the weekly series of tastings in place, or our virtual tasting program. We're going to take a couple weeks off after the Candelabra, and then we'll start back up in probably mid-July, and we'll be doing at least 1 to 2 a month. We'll shoot something out via social media and also on emails to let you know what we're doing, what the plans are, what wines we're going to do. We're in the planning stages right now. We do have a couple of wines we haven't done yet through these, so we know those are going to happen. We might look at doing a couple of verticals. We might do some comparisons of some different varietals or different on the brands maybe. So we're not sure exactly how that's going to work out, but that's going to be coming up. It'll give us time to do some a little bit more video, kind of like pre-show things for a little more educational, like you saw in the bottling line going on there. And then me out there in the vineyard and Len out in the vineyard, and we'll kind of show you the progress of the vines throughout the growing season. So that'll be great. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of information coming from us over the next 6 months for sure through this virtual tasting. And of course, anytime a new release is about ready to come out, we'll definitely be showcasing that. So probably in July, more than likely, you'll be seeing the new Coro will be coming out. So that'll be the next one. So anyway, that's where we're at. That's what's happening. So again, stay tuned. Open your emails. Look for the specials. Actually, there'll be special wine buys probably along with the tastings. And follow us on social media, and so you can stay up to date. All right? So it's that simple. All right, so let's head for the south of France, heading over to the eastern side of the south of France into the Rhone, where Syrah comes from. So we do bottle a separate Syrah, and Syrah is a very important varietal for us, a great, very important wine, because we do use it in a lot of other wines as a blender. And so it is very important, and we do keep about 100 cases to 200 cases every year we bottle up, and we to make a special wine just at the tasting room. So the only way you find these wines is at the tasting room, and a lot of times only tasting wine club members are able to buy them online at some junctions, but most of the time they're always available at the tasting room if you come down there. So take a look and come check it out. All right. Or Shiraz in Australia, same, basically the same grape, same family. Our Syrah is made differently because we use it as a blender. We use it as a bigger fruit component and for mouth structure and body. Okay, so it's not typically as earthy as a lot of Syrahs are. Most times Syrahs get that very earthy tone to them. Ours does not. Now you saw the videos when we talked about Torrent. You saw that rocky soil, you saw the gravel where these wines come from. This wine comes from especially. And so you can tell that it's a little more concentrated, and we grow it for the fruit. And it does have great fruit usually in this wine. And it's a great characteristic. So when you get this wine, so you get that nice dark fruit, and that's what I love. That's what I want. I want that big dark fruit. It's not an overpowering fruit, but it's very present. It's a sweeter dark fruit that shows you that it's there. And by doing that, when I blend this with other wines, it helps uplift that other fruit in those other wines at the same time and not overpowering them. So it's got that nice darkness. Then in the back end of it, you kind of get that. Let's take you back to when you were a toddler and you're eating dirt. You get that earthy aroma in the back end. So it is there on the back side of that fruit. You kind of get that earthy aroma. So next time you're out gardening, and actually grab some actual dirt, not some potting soil, but actual dirt, and you kind of grind it up, you kind of smell your hand, you'll see what I'm talking about. You get that earthy mineral kind of aroma coming through behind that fruit. But what I am getting is the oak is there. There's a nice little toastiness, kind of a, maybe like almost an espresso, kind of a toasted bean, kind of a, toasted espresso bean in the back end. With a little bit of maybe a little clove in there. So, and that's that earthiness. The earthiness will roll down. So these are like the same barrels we've been talking about all along with all the other wines. But that earthiness will roll that cinnamon flavor down, and it becomes more cloves to me, like this, all right? So, God, it smells good. I love that fruit sensation when you first put this in your palate. I love how that brightness and that plum, that kind of a, dark currant plumminess comes right there in the very beginning. And then you get the richness of that mouthfeel, and that's that texture, that mouthfeel, and that boldness of the Syrah. You can feel that wash over your palate from the mid palate back. And you get that nice tannin roll. And you can see why a Syrah can take so much more in a sauce. It can take those bigger peppercorn sauces. It can taste more heavily grilled meats and vegetables. It can really take something stronger, that strength, and enhance it a little bit more. And that's what it does in wines when we blend with it, especially in our cab and then with the torrent. And you can kind of taste this now, and if you're lucky enough to have some torrent around, you taste it later on, you can kind of see where the Syrah and the torrent comes through, what it actually does to that wine. It's like for tonight, we have a ribeye steak that we're going to grill up, and we have some artichokes, because artichokes don't really go with a lot of stuff, but I think it'll go well with this wine. So we're going to do them a little Italian style. They're smaller organic artichokes, which are little tiny ones, that we're going to slice up, and you fry them, and you put a little lemon on top of them, and caper berries, not capers, caper berries, which are larger like a grape, and do that. And this was what my family was feeding me when I was in Italy, oh so long ago, and it was awesome. So we got this all this southern Italian food, and that was almost a mainstay. It was artichokes sliced, and then kind of a quick fry and olive oil, not batter, just quick fried with salt, pepper, a little lemon, and capers, and it was caper berries. So that's what we're going to be having with our Syrah tonight at the Milone household. So anyway, so that's the type of food fare you can think about with Syrah, foods that normally don't go with other wines. But of course, anything that's braised. Braised meats usually are bigger, richer, a little more fat content, where the Syrah cuts through that fat. So when you braise something, whether it be rabbit, turkey, chicken, or short ribs, I'm telling you, man, or shanks, lamb shank, pork shank, beef shank, whatever, you can take that heavy braising, especially if you use a lot of if there's a lot of fennel and a tomato sauce, and which usually when you braise, you see those kind of things in those sauces. There's a lot more bigger flavors that are more predominant, where they would, like you think about fennel. If you had fennel and it's going against like a Merlot, sometimes it might counteract each other a little bit more. Depends on, so you might have to back off a little bit more. So, but with the Syrah, it would work even better. It all depends on, that characteristic. So That's what I see, and that's what I love about this. This is a wine that actually blue cheese and Gorgonzola pairs well with, I think. I really like it when, because usually you use the sharpness of blue cheese or Gorgonzola to show you what the wine has, where I think with Syrah it actually pairs with the wine. It actually enhances it, and the Syrah can take those stronger flavors. It wants a stronger style cheese. It wants that bigger, smokier, heavier style cheeses, or cheese like blue cheese or Gorgonzola, which has a strong flavor on its own. So when you're playing with Syrahs, just remember that. It works well. Again, anything you can do with a Zin or a Cab will go well with a Syrah because it's going to match it, depending upon whose Syrah you have. Our Syrah is more food-friendly towards the Zinfandel range, I believe. Some bigger Syrahs, because of their earthiness and they're so huge, might overpower something like barbecued chicken, where I think this wine would enhance it and bring it even more. If you're vegetarian, it's definitely... think about portobello mushrooms grilled on a grill, or a mushroom-based pasta. Good pasta with a lot of like big, heavy grilled mushrooms inside of it. Same thing, portobellos, even oyster shiitake. Doesn't matter. There's even more potent flavors. Again, mushrooms sometimes can overpower wines and give it a weird flavor because of that earthiness, where it will match the Syrah. And the Syrahs being so big and bold, they can take it, and they actually enhance the flavor of the food. You don't have to doctor it up as much. So then again, you have those different options. So there's a lot of things. Seafood and Syrah for me is a tough one. I have yet to find a seafood that I really liked with a Syrah. The closest thing I would say is maybe Cioppino. It depends on how you make it, I guess. But, something's got to be pretty big, pretty bold for the Syrah to be able to handle it. So, but you guys experiment with it, try it, and find it. Let me know. I'd love to find out and do the same thing. But you're not going to be having this with a piece of halibut, okay? So as far as that goes. Excuse me. So again, Syrah is it's very unique wine to where blending can be very difficult with Syrah, because the difference between 1% and 0.5% tastes like Syrah or doesn't. It's an enhancement, or all of a sudden it overtakes it and they're going, oh, there's Syrah in this wine. So that's a delicate balance when you're playing with Syrah. So we're always doing that. Sorry, I'm just blue cheese and dried apricots with the Syrah. Yeah, Lynn, good job. That'll work every time. Even asparagus, bacon wrapped asparagus will go really well with this too. Trust me, it works. But anything you wrap in bacon means you can drink it with anything or eat it with anything, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, but big, heavy, cheeses, good Parmigiana, even good salty Romano would be great with this wine, I think. Because you get the creaminess of that Romano, but you get that really salty brininess that you get with that too. So that would kind of work. When you dive back into this wine, there is the fruit note starts popping on the back end just before the finish. So the oak doesn't really show really hard in the mouth in this wine. I get some of that American oak is popping through. There's some nice kind of a espresso tobacco flavor kind of going there, but the fruit's still really popping through. The earthiness is not as much. I'm not getting as much earthiness in this wine as I am kind of a fruit flavor, maybe a little tobacco, and some tobacco flavors coming in. But it's got that nice finish. The finish kind of rolls and continues on. But it shows you how bold it is and how much it can take and what it can do. So, and play with your wine, play with your food, and I'll just give you a really great example. What happened to me last night is that we were bottling the 18 Primitivo. I took it home with me to try, and we had shrimp Louis, and it was awesome with the shrimp Louis. So just because it doesn't sound like it's going to work, it works. Our Louis sauce that we use has a little more horseradish in it, but it was just perfect with that shrimp. So you never know what wine's going to work with what food until you start playing with it a little bit and having a little bit of fun to do that. I see a lot of great cooking suggestions rolling up through here right now. So, And then the other one that I see David just put up, roasted Brussels sprouts, is what we like to do is a pancetta and Brussels sprouts roasted up, and then you throw blue cheese crumbles over the top of that and throw it back in under the broiler for like about 2 to 3 minutes, and then pull that out. And that would be excellent with something like this. Fun. So a lot of great suggestions out there. There's a lot of fun. Excuse me. I just need some more wine. So it tastes really well. So Syrah, predominantly, a lot of Mendocino County growers use Syrah. We use it in a lot of different wines. Again, like I said, so we use it in our Coro. We do use it in our Cab. We use it in Torrent, of course. It's one of the 3 blenders in Torrent. We do use it a lot as a fixer. If a wine is missing something, especially in the mid-palate or the finish, this is a wine we like to use to help boost it up a little bit more. And not large percentages, but you know, sometimes just 1 or 2% is all it takes just to give it that final finesse. And so that's what we kind of look for and do. So.
Troy is wondering about pairing dishes with jalapeno, and says he has a ceviche with a fair amount of jalapeno and also a goat cheese stuffed jalapenos.
Well, Negro Modelo comes to mind. Let's see. With jalapenos are, I'll be honest with you, it's a difficult pairing. If you're roasting the jalapenos and you're pulling the seeds out of them, then you could probably go with something like this Syrah. You could probably go with the Brutocao Sauvignon Blanc would probably work, especially with the goat cheese option. The reason why is jalapenos get really green with their aromas, and that's usually a defect we find in wines. So like with Merlot years ago, when they were being overproduced and being grown with like too much leaf and very fertile soils, they actually had a jalapeno pepper aroma to them, and it was like just nasty. So that made it really difficult. But I would say the Syrah, I would try the, I think the Brutocao Sauvignon Blanc would go really well with that, to be honest with you. Because it'll take that heat, the little bit of heat that you have, and when you roast them, and then put the goat cheese inside of them, I think that'll go, honestly, just almost perfect with that. On a red wine side, maybe try the Sangiovese, or honestly, I'd be willing to think about even the Blissful Red. Would probably work with that. I think that has the qualities with all those Italians in it and that Zin. That would probably be really good. If you were adding a little bit more smokiness to that, with maybe like if you were doing bacon wrapped, you know, and all that stuff, then I would be saying go for a Zin. Then the Zin would probably be able to fill in there for you. But it all depends on what you're adding to it. You know, what herbs too and everything else. Cool. All right. Everybody's really quiet tonight.
We have some really interesting food pairings tonight. So Eric is doing a borscht with it's a beef stew with lots of beets, carrots, potatoes, onions, red wine. Sounds very good.
Yeah, and that's like Ratatouille. Same thing, doing that classic French casserole, just all vegetarian with all those vegetables. And we talked about that, I think, in the invitation we sent out, that like grilled eggplant is another one for that. So if you think about Ratatouille, it's a bunch of vegetables to a casserole and for a vegetarian option. So, you know, bolder vegetables, bolder fruit, you know, bolder meats, it's going to work really well with. So that's cool. All right.
Luke would like to know if there's ever been a grape or wine that you really liked, but you couldn't get it to grow well in this environment.
Yeah, I mean, Nebbiolo is a grape and a wine that I really like, and I just have never seen one in California that worked. I think that would be the one that comes to my mind the most. One of the grapes I really would like to work with more and make a wine of for my own personal use, like I said before, was Chenin Blanc, but that grows really well here. But I think Nebbiolos are the ones that do that. In our section of Mendocino County here in Hopland, you know, the Rieslings, the German varietals are not going to do as well. as they do in Anderson Valley, because it's a little bit cooler over on that side of the hill. So probably Riesling, Gewürztraminer would be another one. I think Gewürztraminer would be another fun one that I've always liked, a really great Gewürztraminer. So I think those would be the two.
Do you want to give everyone a little update on the winery and what's coming up? We're bottling right now. What's kind of the time?
So in the winery right now, it's major chaos. How's that? So right now where we're at is we just bottled. So today we bottled the 2018 Coro and the 2018 Reserve Chardonnay, right? Yeah, it was today. So we bottled both those wines today, which is the end of all the Brutocao wines. So we just got done bottling all except for the Chardonnay, which is next. The 18 Chardonnay will be bottled starting, or 19 Chardonnay, I'm sorry, will be bottled next week. But all the 18 reds just got bottled. So every, in our total repertoire, so that's done. And then starting Tuesday, we're going to start bottling the 19 Brutocao Chardonnay. Once that's done, then we're going to be going after all the 19 Bliss wines. We'll start getting bottled. So we'll start with the 19 Bliss Pinot Noir, then the Zinfandel, Merlot, and Cab. We'll be bottling all the way up until about probably mid-August, bottling all those wines. So right now, so we're making blends, blending wines, moving them back and forth, figuring out what's going where. We're putting all the 19 Brutocaos to bed. So we're getting ready to start racking them a little bit and getting those ready. We'll give them one more racking, and then probably in August we'll just sulfur and top them. We'll just kind of go over there, give them a little bit of wine, fill up the barrel, and then give them a little SO2 so they're nice and topped and taken care of, because we won't be able to touch them again until November once harvest is over. The other thing I'm doing right now, as you saw in the video, I'm out in the vineyard. Every day I go out and check at least 2 or 3 blocks. It takes me about 2 to 3 weeks to go hit all the blocks in the vineyards, and then I do it again. And then we just kind of keep going around in a big circle. So, like starting next week, I'll finish up all I'll go back to the Chardonnay, hit the Brutocao Chardonnay sites, and then we'll be up and looking at the Primitivo up on Contento, and then I'll start making some decisions where maybe possibly making the rosés coming from. So different things like that. Well, so it's actually time to start thinking about harvest, even though we won't pick a grape until September. I got to figure out what supplies, what yeast, and that type of thing. So that's going to be an ongoing project. So that's the winery right now. You saw what the vineyard's doing. The vineyard's out there either cultivating the ground by disking or using a cultivator, and probably we're actually out there doing a little bit of leafing, and then we're doing a lot of thinning, a lot of shoot thinning, which you saw with the people are doing in front of me today, and Len showed you a video last week of what they're actually doing for suckering and shoot thinning, and then we'll go back through and have to touch all that one more time in certain areas, like I said, to show you to get rid of those wings off the Zinfandel. So a lot going on. It's a very busy time for us this time of year, and we have to kind of fight a couple different things because we can't work in a vineyard once it gets too hot. Legally, we have to actually shut down, so some days we're only allowed to work. That's why we're out there at 6 a.m. They're only allowed to work for maybe 5 to 6 hours before it gets too hot, and then they have to shut down. So busy time.
Also, we have several questions about reopening the tasting rooms and what's going on. We have seen Sonoma and Napa are reopening. What's Mendocino's status as of right now?
So as of tomorrow, Sonoma County is allowed to reopen all their tasting rooms. The latest word we got today was that as of 3 o'clock tomorrow, the health order will be put out to where Mendocino County can open their tasting rooms on Saturday. So it'll come out tomorrow at 3 o'clock. It'll take effect at midnight, and then tasting rooms can open with reservations and tables and so forth. Bruticao's tasting room probably will not be open this weekend. We have a lot of things we have to get ready. We've got a lot of things already in place, but we have to have signage. You have to have sanitation protocols and all that type of thing going. So probably within the next week to 2 weeks, you'll see our tasting room will be open. So you can go ahead and call and find out. It is by appointment. That's what the health director says you have to do. So that's what we're going to do. We're waiting for the final directive to come out tomorrow, and then we'll know for sure what's going on. But But within the next, I would say within the next 2 weeks, we will be open for tastings by appointment at least. We still have curbside is going, and things in Mendocino County are opening up. Like right now, lodging is also part of this, so the hotels are going to open back up. But it's for in-county residents only, supposedly. So we'll see how that works. But I think sooner than later, you're going to see it open up quite a bit more.
Steve would like to know, is there a relation between Syrah and Petite Syrah, and what are the flavor differences?
Sure. I will say that there is a relationship. It's not quite. There's Petite Syrah is coming from a different varietal from the Rhone. Syrah is part of that, if I remember correctly. They have two totally different profiles. So they're not exactly the same. Their heritage might have some connections in the back, and here's the reason why I say that, is that Syrah grapes are very oblong, almost like this cork. They're round and they're oblique, okay? Where Petite Syrah grapes are totally round. They are circular. Syrah is very loose bunch. I mean, they're actually, you can see daylight between the grapes on the bunch when they're ripe. Petite Syrah is just like Zinfandel. It is just compact and tight. In fact, they're actually tighter packed and more susceptible to rot than Zinfandel is. So that tells you right there by looking at those two that there is a huge difference in their lineage. Even though there might be a little bit way back to where they might be somewhat similar, but they definitely took different paths. Okay, we're talking Cain and Abel here, going different ways. So, but the other thing is that Syrahs get very earthy. In my opinion, they get a very earthy tone, but Petite Syrah gets very spicy and not earthy. So I think that's where you see the bigger differences. Petite Syrah gets a really dark hued purple. Syrah gets very dark, but it still has that brownish kind of a almost a sienna dirt kind of tint to it. It's not as purple. Where Petite Syrah is like this, it's like a color magnet. It's like this, usually this darker, deeper purple. And you can always tell when I've been working Petite Syrah or tasting it, because my teeth are black and my hands usually are purple. So so those are the two, I think the two main things. Petite Syrah, I think, also has a brighter fruit profile. So I think it's more, you get more blackberry, brighter, lighter berry styles, where you get more dark plum, currant style fruits out of Syrah. And then mouthfeel wise, you get that same structure, but a lot more tannin out of Petite Syrah. Petite Syrah is a huge tannin bomb. There's no doubt about it. So.
All right. Chris would like to know if you keep handwritten notes or notebooks from year to year, or do you have the benefit of a prodigious memory?
What'd you say? We write everything down. That's why I write notes down before I do this, so I can make sure I say everything. No, we do a lot of notes. We're always writing things down. I have files upon files, that just because otherwise you don't. We do tastings, we do tasting notes. It may be in a shorthand that nobody else will ever understand but me, but you have to, because of all the different wines. You know, and there are some winemakers I know that are blessed that can sit there and go, oh, I remember this wine tasted just like this back in 1977 or whatever. And then there's the winemakers who will say, I remember this wine tasted just like this in 1977, who's blowing a lot of air up your skirt. But there's, you know, it just depends. But no, here at Brutocao for Haas Milone, it's note-taking. That's why there's always a pen in front of me and a piece of paper. So it has to be that way. I drink way too much to remember anything.
And just to be clear, back to the tasting room reopening, the tasting rooms will be open to out-of-county residents or county only?
We're waiting to hear. We're waiting to hear. Once the tasting rooms are open, it's pretty much going to be, even though if it says in county only, we know it's going to happen, and so does the health director. And they put that in there to keep the governor happy. I'll be honest with you, but it will be open pretty much once we open up. if you call and make a reservation, you're calling and making a reservation and coming to taste. So.
And can they call on the schedule now? I'll say, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Call us. Let us know. You know, if you're coming in a few weeks from now, you know, we'll make a note of it.
Yeah, just let us know. I mean, we're not gonna turn you down. We're gonna make it happen one way or the other. Now, if you want to send me a personal check, I'll definitely make sure it happens. Cash will definitely get you there, and I'll come. So yeah.
Why are some Syrahs very dark while others are lighter?
It just depends on how they're made. It really does. Because the thing about a Syrah is you want to pick it when it looks like a golf ball. And when I mean that is that when you'll actually start seeing dimpling on the skin like a golf ball looks. And that means that's a true sign of ripeness for Syrah. So that's when you're going to get it. It's going to be the darkest, richest you can get it. But it also might be 26, 27 bricks. So that means that they might have to water it back, or they might have to blend it away. It depends on where they're growing it also. If it's a colder climate and it can't reach full ripeness, you're not going to get all that color. It depends on how they vinify it once they get to the winery. If they're not doing a good extraction techniques, then you're not going to get that also. So it's going to be a lighter wine because of how you extract it, what yeast you use. So there's a lot of factors. You know, like I said, my job here is to show what the grape is in our vineyard, the fruits and the flavors that you get in the vineyard, I want to project in the wine. So what I do, everything I can to protect that and enhance that.
Craig says that Joyce would like to know if we will ship them here for 1 cent so they can visit us.
Sure, but it's going to be a lot of copper. Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
John's thinking about golf.
John's always on golf. That's why John's golfing tomorrow. Oh, that's right. Sorry, John. Steve didn't know that, huh? That's right. Chris is busy making a reservation book right now at the tasting room. I can just see it. It's happening. So, all right.
Thanks a lot, Haas.
Too funny. What do we got? Going to miss the tips. Okay. Not sure if Haas said this, but Petite Syrah clusters are like a flat cone shape. Yeah, I guess they are kind of a flat cone shape. I like to say they're more like a hand grenade, a big one.
Are they typically the last varietal pick? They're near the end?
Near the end. Petite Syrah and Carrigan are usually towards the end, yeah. It depends how much we thin them, too, because we've been having to thin them way down because they produce a lot of fruit. And so, you know, it's funny. I'm walking in, I was walking through the Zin today, and I'm walking through the Petite Syrah and the Carrigan are in that same area. And I'm just like going, man, this is the biggest pain in the ass block we have. And the reason why is because you saw how Zin is, the chicks and the hens. And then I got the Petite Syrah, which it's very similar to that. And you got to watch the crop load on those. And then we have Carrigan. And Carrigan will throw 10 tons to the acre unless you're not careful. And you got to pull so much fruit off. And it looks like, you actually do. You probably put half the fruit on the ground and still come out twice as much fruit as you actually need with that. So, that's my rowdy teenager block right now. They are 12 years old, right? Yeah, planted them in 2008 if I remember correctly. So it's a 12-year-old block, so it's just starting to come into its own. They got another about 10 years to when they start mellowing out. But right now it's kind of like, they're college freshmen. So we're still dealing with that aspect of it. But they are a little bit of an adult, and they kind of act like it once in a while. But they can still call and ask you for bail money. So you never know. So it's coming, so they're right there at that point. But they're getting better, and we're actually getting them to tone down a little bit and getting a little more consistency. And making wines out of that block has really been, it's challenging, but it's also fun because it is challenging. So
Sophia would like to know, what soil profile does Syrah grow in?
Anything. I mean, you got to think about where it comes from in in Rhone, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, you know, where basically that's Rhone. It's rock. It's just big old rocky soil, so Syrah will grow anywhere. And that's what you got to be careful of. If you put it in too fertile a soil, then you're going to get some really weird flavors. So we actually put, ours is in some actually very rocky soil where it's at, so that helps with the fruit profile. But I think Syrah is one of those grapes that'll just grow on a mountainside where goats eat brush. I mean, I swear to God, it'll grow anywhere.
Does Syrah require less water than Zinfandel since they're more spacious, or I guess looser clusters?
No, not really. They all require pretty much about the same amount. It all depends on water retention in the soil. So how much they get, how deep the roots get. But because we use drip irrigation to conserve as much water as possible, you really have to, you know, you really got to get the water to them, all of them. So I would say, you know, with modern farming, they're pretty consistent.
Linda would like to know about bocce. If they come down, can they play bocce with proper sanitizing and distancing?
I have no comment at this time. All I'm saying is that what we don't see, we can't control.
Brian would like to know, out of curiosity, what is the geographically closest winery to you?
Fetzer. Actually, yeah. Fetzer's like a half mile down the road.
If you go the back way.
Yeah. They're right over the top of the hill. You can see the Fetzer facility from our back end of the winery. So I can wave to my wife at her office.
Marty says that Haas, pre-COVID, you were scheduled to host a wine dinner in their little town of Hendersonville, North Carolina.
Yes, I was.
And hope you can make it back once things settle.
No, we already kind of have the... That's what we're hoping to do, is come back and re-hit all the places we were supposed to go, especially for me, for my tour, to go back. There's a lot of people back in North Carolina that were ready to do tastings, wine dinners, and in a couple of different shops. And so, yeah, I know we're going to come back and say hi to everybody back in North Carolina, South Carolina too. I mean, both those areas have been really good to us over the years, and I love going there. I'll be honest with you, my favorite memory is I was there it was the day after soft shell crab season opened, and everybody had soft shell crab boys, and that was just a treat and a half for this boy. Anyway, so yeah, we're hoping to come back out there next year, for sure.
So you're going to love this question from Troy. He says, you have done a Chenin Blanc before in a Sylvia label. Any chance of it in the future? Do you want to talk about that?
I have never done a Sauvignon Blanc for Sylvia. Or Chenin Blanc, I'm sorry, for Sylvia. Or Sauvignon Blanc either. No. That was, no, he purchased, that was a wine that was purchased. All we did was label it for him. So, no. Nice try, Troy.
If a Shiraz is made outside of Australia, what does that mean? For instance, why would a Spanish winery make a Shiraz instead of a Syrah?
Good question, Luke. Why don't you ask your partner, and he can tell you why they do that. It's money. It's like, why do you say Sauvignon Blanc or Fumé Blanc? So that's, I mean, people argue back and forth. Is a Syrah vine a Shiraz vine?
So it's more marketing and branding.
I think so. I mean, you know, I'm not the expert on that. I just make wine and drink it.
Stephen Michaels has a great question I was thinking about earlier. What was the difference between the 13 and the 14 Syrah?
About 365 days. And, God, I'm trying to think. What was that? 14 was the first drought year, if I remember correctly. 13, we still got we got good rain. So I think the 14 probably is a little bit more concentrated, but I think the 13 was a really good vintage. If I remember right, I really liked the 13. I think it was a lot bigger wine.
You had a lot more dark fruit to it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. It was a lot bigger, bolder style of Syrah. It still wasn't more earthy, but I think it was just a bigger bodied wine. And it's just, yeah, the dark fruit was a lot more present in that, if I remember correctly, because 14 was kind of the first of the drought years, which really kind of knocked the Syrah back a little bit. Because even though you don't get all the water and the moisture, it's the heat and the sun. And so what you do is you lose so much acid from all that heat, and it really affects the vines. You know, the vines don't ripen the same because they're shutting down more, and they're not getting all that, you know, and they grow really early, and it's out of sync, and it's kind of like, you know, it's like if you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and can't go back to bed type of a thing. All of a sudden they get, you know, these vines are getting all this heat and warmth really early on, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's going on here? This is kind of crazy. So it kind of throws off their cycles.
Eric is mentioning that they had grown some Syrah in a high magnesium soil, and it was wonderful.
Oh, cool.
And I believe they have vineyards down in the Healdsburg area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Syrah will take punishment. It really will. It's funny. It's just one of those. I think it's one of those grapes that likes to be. You know, I think it's kind of into S&M. That's kind of my feeling about Syrah.
Brian says that obviously some grape types cross over different geographies. Big word. I've come to like Albarino's from Spain. Do we have something close, either at Brutocao or elsewhere that you know of?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, I don't know, David, you drink those more than I do. What do you think, Grazi's? A couple of Greg's wines might be there from Graziano. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think we have anything that's going to match that style that you're looking at right now. That's a good question. Contact your local sommelier from Mendocino County and ask them that question.
I think Steve can jump on that one. Get back to him.
Yeah.
Oh, do you publish dates and locations for these wine dinners? So back to your trips when you do.
Yeah, usually they're done locally and not by us. We haven't in the past, but usually when we're in an area, we're going to be in an area, they're usually published locally by either the restaurant or the liquor store that's hosting it, and not by us. I don't know, it's something we might be able to do. Let you know if you're going to be in that area. Come check us out. So.
Haas, it looks like Albarino is in your future. Bev's putting that on her list for Bottle Barn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's already got a bunch of Barolos we're supposed to go get.
Steve thinks it's cool that Brian stumped you.
Well, Steve, maybe, for some people, but anyway.
Chris would like to let you know, if you didn't know, that St. Louis has great barbecue, so a wine dinner there could be really fun. Just saying.
Yeah. We didn't do a wine dinner there. We were in St. Louis not too long ago. Actually, Steve was actually supposed to go to St. Louis this year, but because of the COVID, it got canceled out. So. Our distributor in St. Louis is the Budweiser distributor, so imagine that. They had great seats, though, at the Cardinal Stadium. Oh, so now I'm going to Missouri. I see it already. It's happening. People are going crazy on it. That's cool.
So Dave and Sarah are discussing your choice of glass. Is it random or is it a preferred style for Syrah?
For this glass? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just random.
That's just our tasting room.
It's our tasting room glass. It has our logo. This is what I use. At home, I drink out of this. Or this. Just depends what's closer. I mean, honestly.
You talked about glass choice previously. Would Syrah fall in the category of the Bordeaux styles, where a bigger glass that delivers it?
No, you're going to want to go more. This would be more the style I would go. I would go more that. Yeah, because so a cab glass gets a little bit fatter, but this is more that Zinfandel. Zinfandel and Syrah kind of in that same category to do that. But yeah, this would be. I like this glass because I think it's a good all-around glass. I really do. I think it does really well. If I'm going to whites and Pinots, more burgundy, lighter wines, then I'm going to want this. I'm going to want a glass that's more shaped like this one because I think it envelops a little bit more. I think that, honestly, it's just whatever you're comfortable with. I like a stem more than a stemless. I always do. The reason I don't drink out of these during these is because you'd be watching them fly everywhere. Because as you can tell, my hands never move. They always stay right here, very, solidly on the table. I'm not animated one bit. I am live. So this glass kind of has the same characteristic of this, but it's just got a narrower top. So it allows you to get more of a nose and a better overall experience with the wine. These are developed to make you get that wine opened up and to deliver it towards the back of your palate. That's that Cabernet, Zinfandel, Syrah, a little bit bigger red, where this is developed, this is made for you to get that wine towards the front of your palate. That's your Pinots, your Chardonnays, maybe Sauvignon Blancs even. I think Sauvignon Blanc works in these glasses probably better than this. Because they are so effervescent. They're not effervescent, but they're the phenolics in that wine. They really want to come out quick, so you really get a good hit on them. I mean, honestly, if you really want to taste a wine for what a wine is, that's the best glass to ever use. It's a black one, so you can't see it, and then it makes you use your nose and your palate to taste it. It makes you really smell it, because a lot of times we see a wine and it looks nice and dark. We're going, oh, that's going to be really big and bold, right? And your mind's already putting you there, because you do taste with your eyes at the same time. So when you put it in a glass like this, which is a fun glass to do when you do wine tastings, is it makes you use all your senses. It makes you use that nose. It makes you use your palate to really judge that wine a little bit deeper and kind of quantify it. So it's just kind of a little bit different way to do it. So it's always a little bit fun. Like I said, once you first taste it and you're enjoying it, when you're on your third bottle of mason jar, who cares? I mean, you're enjoying the wine at that point in time. The biggest thing I always say is that no matter what the shape is, it's the thickness of the glass does matter. That's what matters. So size does matter. You want a smaller, thinner glass size. Okay? It's the only time you'll ever hear that. But you want something a little bit thinner so you can actually enjoy it, because thicker glass, when you get it up into your mouth, it does affect your taste. I don't know why. I've seen it, and I've had it explained to me, and I still shake my head going, what are you talking about? I still don't understand that. So
it is kind of fun, when we did the glass tasting, or with the Pinot, when the glass people came in and we tasted the same Pinot out of different glasses, how much it changed, different shapes. But so it's kind of fun to do. Yeah. Try it at home.
Yeah, we actually, before we settled on this one glass, we had 5 glasses, and it was amazing how much more the wine showed in this glass than it did in the others. Now, later on, it probably would have showed better in maybe another glass, but for the tasting room, for what we were trying to do, this was the best one, we thought, and it worked out well. And they're all the same price. It wasn't, it's like, Stolz is the brand on these, and Stolz is a very, it's a German-made crystal glass. They are like half the price of Riedel glasses, and I think they're better than a Riedel glass, personally. So, and now somebody's texting me to tell me I'm wrong. So, yeah.
What have you heard about smelling wine with one nostril?
Be careful. Just be careful, because what will happen eventually is that when you do that, you're going to inhale wine in one nostril because you're going to take a big, and then all of a sudden you're going to really go hard and you're going to pretend you were back in the 80s at Disco 45 or whatever it was, 54. Anyway.
I have heard that people have a dominant nostril,
Mm-hmm.
And also that if you smell wine with a slight tilt, that the smell has a clearer path to your olfactory nerve.
Well, if you never notice when I'm smelling, I'm not like just going down in. It's usually off to the side, and it always has been. And that's how I smell better. And I don't know what scientific proof that is, but hey, that works for me because that's how I smell better to do that. Like I said, it depends on what you're smelling. You're going to smell them different. Like when you're doing whiskeys, for example, bourbons and whiskeys, or any hard liquors or spirit, you smell the wines from up here. You don't put your face in it. You actually swirl it around and come in slow and find the sweet point where you can start to smell it, because otherwise you get alcohol vapor that just burns your nose up. And so you smell it actually above the glass. And then, and then wine guys, we just dive head first into something. So, to really get in there and get it out. But sometimes I find that if I'm having a hard time getting some aromas, I use that spirit method and I work my way down into it, and I'll find that sweet spot to where I can, get the wine back and forth. But yeah, I know I have a dominant side. I'm always doing this to this side. I never smell to the right. I don't know.
Stephen mentioned in the chat, if anyone didn't see it, we really appreciate everyone coming on here, and so many of you made it on multiple of these.
Yeah.
So send us your current contact info or your name and phone number via email to customerservice@brutocaocellars.com, because some of you use screen names and we're not quite sure. We think we know who you are, but we have something in the works we want to do for everyone. So again, just send at least your name and phone number to customer service @Brutocao Cellars or Chris@BrutocaoCellars.com.
Yeah, as I say, Chris just popped up saying, "Put my name." You got mad at me when I said that the last time.
Chris would love all the emails.
Yeah, Chris wants emails and phone calls now. His personal phone number is free wine, sure. 12th bottle free with every case you buy. That's right. Yesterday. Anyway. So, hey, but that's the other thing too, is that with what Steve was saying there and Kevin just said, we immensely appreciate your patronage and you guys tuning in every week and listen to me playing the bee comic that I am and having some fun and doing all this with all the wines. We hope to continue this ongoing scenario, like I said, about twice a month. Try to bring some more educational factors in of what's going on in the vineyards, and it'll be hard for us to do this once harvest starts, so probably July and August. After that, you won't see, we might see repeats or the best of. But the one thing that does happen during harvest, or me and Lynn like to take a lot of videos. So hopefully we'll be able to get some videos out to Kevin, and Kevin can be publishing those videos to you guys, and you guys can be seeing that. If you guys have any idea of what you'd like us to do on a virtual tasting, we'd love to hear that too. Send that also to Chris or to info@Brutocao Cellars. Let us know what you're looking for, what you want to do. Do you want me to compare Brutocao Sauvignon Blanc to Bliss Sauvignon Blanc at one of these? Do you want to do a vertical tasting? Do you want to do a big tasting party? So let us know what you'd like to see, what you'd like us to do. I think that's something that it's really interesting to us. And again, let us know what you're eating when you're drinking Brutocao, what you're serving with Brutocao. We'd love to see that. We'd like to get some new ideas and share those ideas even with some people. That would be a lot of fun. So that'd also be a great thing. The one wine that we probably, well, I guess I'll do it. I'll do a port, but that won't be till like November, December. So we've got a lot of ideas of what we thought we might want to do, but let's just see what we got going on and what's happening. I think one last thing we still need to do, if we have no more questions, is I think we still it worked really well last week, and I thought it was a lot of enjoyment. I think we need to do a group toast again. So maybe we can bring everybody back out, so we can start seeing everybody. There we go. There's some pictures. There's my lovely wife. Hi, honey. Is my dinner ready?
Yes, the artichokes turned out really good.
KT. Oh, take Steve off. There's everybody. There's Lynn, Deb. Let's see who's all coming in. All right. Hi, Les. Woo. All right, everybody. John and Cindy. Cool. Oh, Andy. There's Bill and David. I feel like Miss Marianne from Romper Room right now. All right, cool. So, hey, we got everybody up here just about. Kevin's like just poking and prodding really quick here. Oh. What are you doing, KT? Steve, you drank the whole bottle, Steve? All right. That's my boss. Hey, John, you don't have your golf shoes on yet. What's up? Jameson. That's cool. That's cool. All right, everybody. So I think we're about there. Almost got it up. So, hey, thank you all so much. We really appreciate you. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Next week, Candelabra 2014. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Cheers. Cool. Remember, the only difference between a connoisseur and a wino, one takes a brown paper bag off when he's done drinking. Good night, everybody. Enjoy. Honey, I'm coming home.